Hi, I'm Angela Wolf, fashion designer and online instructor, and today we're taking the simple A-line skirt and turning it into a maxi. This is such a simple skirt to make, and it's simple to alter. So let me show you. To get started, you need to measure from your center front to however long you want the skirt. So you notice that this one's longer, this one, it totally depends on what shoes you're wearing, and the other place you might want to measure is the back. Center back, from where you want the waist to fall to the hem. Notice this is a print, it has two side seams, but they match up perfectly. Let me show you how to do this. So I'm starting with my same A-line skirt that we've been using this entire season, and I measure from the center front down to however long I want my hem. So for this case, let's just say we want it to go down 33 inches. I like using a yardstick, or if you have a really long quilter's ruler, that's fine too. You want to give yourself the first line to start with. Make that a little darker here. Now, this is going to match your center front line. I'm going to line up my pattern. Again, I'll measure from this point down, making sure it's whatever length I need that to be. So let's just say it's 33 inches. And I'm going to trace around just a part of this pattern. I'm going to trace all the way down to the hip area. Why am I doing that? Well, first of all, my maxi skirt is made out of a knit, and I don't want a bunch of gathering at the waist. I want it to fit nicely in the hip. After that, it has to hang straight. So if I know a lot of people will just make a maxi skirt, and there are a lot of ways to do this, but just a rectangle, well, then you have all the gathering in the waist. So this way, if I measure the front exactly like my skirt, all the way around the top and to the hip area, I'll do this on the front and the back. Once I get to the hip area, watch what I'm doing to my pattern. I'm just adjusting this. What I want is, and I have a quilter's ruler here just to help me line this up. What I'm trying to do is after that hip, I want to line up my hem parallel to the center front line. Looks like that's a good parallel, and that's a good parallel. And if I just kind of follow this line, now, you'll have to try the skirt on and double check that everything fits it correctly, but if your skirt fit in the first place, you should be able to alter all the way to the hip. Now, do you see that right there? You don't want that. So just make sure that you true your lines, meaning that you make it just a little bit more of a smooth line here. And then down all the way to the hem. When I get to the hem, just give myself another line here. And there you go. The only other change that I'm going to have to make, if this is how long I want my maxi to be, let me get this pattern out of the way so you can see the whole thing here. I need to add a 1-inch hem allowance. And then however you're finishing the waist, if it's with elastic, I'm using a 1-inch elastic on the mannequins, I'm going to add 1 inch right here. Of course, I would make sure that matches. So there's my pattern, and then I would just, transfer my grain lines and those things. So let me just show you a few tips for finishing the hems on this. With the knit, sometimes it gets a little tricky. You can do it with a sewing machine, you can do it with a serger or a cover lock machine. So I'm just going to press this and make sure it has a nice crease. There we go. And now it's all ready to run through the cover hem machine. Now there are a few ways to finish the hem. This is just one of my favorites for sportswear, and this is a double cover hem. You could also do the triple cover hem stitch. And what this does is it stitches along the edge of your fabric. I have the hem side down that we've pressed, and I'm just lining that up on the edge here and stitching. And what you end up with is this side is finished, and this side is finished. It stretches, which is really important when you have one of these skirts, because what I didn't mention is the maxi skirt is kind of tight at the bottom of your legs, so when you walk, it's going to stretch a little bit, and if you don't use a stretch stitch, you're going to rip the stitch out. So you'll stitch all the way around. If you're going in the circle, you would just want to make sure that your stitches cover each other, but let me just go ahead and... This machine has a chain stitch attached to it, so I can just chain off, which is really nice. So again, here we have the stitch on the back side, the stitch If I want to trim this hem allowance a little bit closer, I can do that. But now when I walk, it's not going to stretch out. So just in case you don't have a machine like that, let me show you what you can do on the sewing machine. You could use a twin needle, which would work fine, but I'm going to change it to a triple stitch, and I'm lengthening the stitch to a 3.5. Again, my hem is just folded over once because this fabric doesn't fray, so you don't have to worry about serging it first and then going through here. Just take it to the sewing machine and then do these stitches. I'm just allowing the fabric to feed. I lengthen the stitch length, so you just don't want to end up with a whole bunch of tiny stitches right there in that knit because you could end up with holes. That's not so pretty. All right, let's see what we have here. And I'll bring this back up to the iron. Give it a little pressing so I can see what this looks like. And again, here's the triple stitch. You've probably seen me use the triple stitch before on top stitching, on knits, necklines, things like that, but also you can stretch it and it doesn't rip out. And the last thing I want to mention is between these two skirts, one's a little bit longer, one's a little bit shorter. If your skirt is going to go all the way to the full length and you're a smaller size, say a 0, 2, 4, something in that range, you might want to angle the hem out just a little bit because when you walk, you could trip or stretch out the hem so bad even though it stretches. So just keep that in consideration. Both of these skirts are for me, one's for heels, one's for not. That's how simple it is to take a simple A-line skirt and turn it into a maxi skirt.